What happens in the very last breath you take? When the heart slows, when the eyes dim, when the unseen draws near, what truly awaits you beyond that veil? Is it peace, wrapped in light and fragrance, or terror, a darkness that claws and drags? Every soul will face this moment. No wealth, no strength, no cleverness can delay it by a single breath. And when it comes, there is an angel who arrives, majestic, unshaken, bound only by the command of the Almighty. His name is Azrael, the angel of death. Tonight, two men will meet him. Both will breathe their final breath. Both will see his face, but their journeys will be as different as dawn and midnight. In one house, the believer lay upon his bed, frail and fading. His breaths came shallow, each one softer than the last, like waves retreating from the shore. Around him his family gathered. His wife held his hand tightly against her cheek, whispering his name through her tears. His children leaned close, some reciting verses, others too overwhelmed to speak. They clung to him with their grief, but the man's soul was already loosening, as if preparing for a departure it had long known was coming. The family thought they were alone with him, but they were not. The unseen was full. Angels stood in the corners of the room, radiant and calm, their garments shimmering with light that carried the fragrance of musk and blossoms. Their presence was gentle, so gentle that the air itself seemed to ease. One leaned down, whispering comfort directly into the soul, not the ears of flesh. The man's lips moved faintly, forming the words that had carried him through life. La ilaha illa Allah. There is no God but Allah. His voice cracked, but the words rose clear to the heavens. And then the stillness deepened. The angels lifted their gaze, for the one they awaited had arrived. Azrael entered. He did not come cloaked in dread. His presence was vast yet wrapped in calm light. To the family nothing had changed. They saw only their father trembling in weakness, but to the soul the room transformed. A presence filled the space, undeniable, magnificent, both near and infinite. The soul recognized him instantly, for every heart is created knowing this meeting. Azrael's voice moved through the silence like a steady river. O peaceful soul, come out to forgiveness and mercy from your Lord. The man's eyes softened, his lips curved faintly, the shadow of a smile breaking through his pain. Fear melted away. The weight of sickness fell. The years of labor, the wounds of regret, the heaviness of life, all dissolved in a single moment of release. His soul stirred and rose, no longer bound, no longer clinging. It slipped from the body as water pours gently from a vessel. The angels of mercy reached for it, wrapping it in silken cloth brighter than moonlight, perfumed with the sweetness of paradise. Below, the family saw only the stillness. His chest rose one last time, then fell into silence. His wife cried out, clutching his hand as if to tether him back. His children pressed their foreheads to his arm. To them, it was loss. To him, it was freedom. The angels lifted his soul upward. As they ascended, voices rang out from the unseen. A good soul has come from the earth. Peace be upon you, O purified soul. Welcome to forgiveness, welcome to mercy, welcome to your Lord's pleasure. At the first gate of the heavens, angels as vast as mountains stood. They smelled the fragrance, clinging to him, and bowed their heads. Whose soul is this? They asked. The angels of mercy answered with his name, adding, He is the one who believed, who stumbled but returned, who fell but rose again, who died with his Lord's name upon his lips. The gates opened wide. Light poured forth, warm and radiant, bathing him as he passed. Angels smiled as he went by, their voices lifting in welcome. And the soul understood something it had doubted all its life. Nothing had been forgotten. Not the secret prayers, not the tears shed in silence, not the quiet kindnesses no one else had seen. Every whisper of repentance, every step back after stumbling, had been preserved by the one who forgets nothing. The soul looked back at the body it had left. The face was pale, the chest still, yet the skin glowed faintly with the residue of life. He felt no desire to return. He felt no bitterness. What he felt was tenderness, a gratitude for the vessel that had carried him through the years. He wanted to whisper to his wife, Do not cry. I am free now. He wanted to touch his children's shoulders and say, Lift your heads. I am in peace. But the language of souls is not spoken with lips. His prayers were carried instead by the angels around him. One of them leaned close, his face shining with light. Your Lord has heard you. Your love will be carried to them. And below, the man's wife, though her grief was still sharp, felt her sobs soften. The eldest son, who had clenched his jaw until it ached, loosened his grip and drew his younger siblings close. A mercy touched them, unseen but real, as if the man's prayer had already arrived at their hearts. The angels continued upward, bearing the soul in their silken shroud. At the next gate of heaven, a host of radiant angels gathered. Their wings shimmered with colors the soul had never seen on earth. They breathed in the fragrance and said, What a sweet soul this is! Who is he? The angels of mercy answered, He is one who prayed when no one saw. He is one who gave even when he had little. He is one who sinned but repented, one who faltered but returned. The gates opened, and the soul was welcomed through. And with every gate he was reminded of moments he had long forgotten, moments of goodness that seemed so small to him at the time but were enormous now. He saw himself as a boy, shy and awkward, offering his only piece of bread to a neighbor's child who had nothing. He saw himself at 19, guilty and ashamed after mocking a friend, then trembling in prayer that night, begging for forgiveness he was certain would not come. He saw himself at 30, weary from work, still rising for prayer though his body begged for sleep. Each memory was not shown to condemn him, but to show him that his Lord had recorded everything, not only his failures but his efforts, his returns, his whispers of regret. Nothing is lost, an angel told him. Every tear you shed was stored. Every act of kindness you hid was written. Every stumble you rose from was seen. You are not forgotten. The soul trembled, overwhelmed with relief. He had always feared that his sins had outweighed his good, that his weaknesses had drowned out his prayers. But here mercy covered what guilt had magnified. Here, forgiveness had written a story he could never have written for himself. The angels carried him higher, past realms where multitudes of angels bowed endlessly in praise, their voices a chorus that filled the skies. The fragrance of paradise grew sweeter with every step. At last he was shown his home. Before him stretched a garden lush and endless, rivers glistening, trees heavy with fruit that shone like jewels. Palaces of light rose in the distance, their doors open and welcome. The air was filled with a peace deeper than any silence, a joy richer than any laughter. And then came the voice, not thunder, not fire, but something greater, vaster, more tender than anything the soul had ever known. It wrapped around him, through him, above and below him. This is your place until the day I raise you again. Tears filled him, though he had no eyes to weep. He bowed low, trembling not in fear but in awe. For the first time in his existence he felt whole. He felt home. Below, his family still wept. They washed his body, wrapped him in the shroud, carried him gently to the grave. They whispered his name as they lowered him into the earth, their tears falling onto the soil. To them, it was separation. To him, it was only a doorway. He wished to send something back. The angels nodded. His prayer rose like light and returned as mercy. That night, his wife dreamed of him. In her dream, he stood in their kitchen, smiling, pouring water into glasses for the children. He looked at her and said, It's all right. She woke with tears still on her face, but with a strength she could not explain. The soul rested in his dwelling in Barzakh, the waiting place between this life and the next. It was not empty or cold, but filled with light, with mercy, with the fragrance of paradise. And he understood, waiting here was not punishment. Waiting here was preparation. He asked the angels, Will I see them again? You will, they replied, in dreams, in mercies that fall upon them, in the protection that comes from prayers you made. You will see them again in full when your Lord gathers you together. Peace washed over him. He lay not in darkness but in promise. The angel of death, whom so many had feared, had been to him a friend, a guide, a doorway into rest. And as the soul settled into mercy, Azrael turned. His wings unfolded, vast and unshaken. Another name was written, another soul awaited. This time there would be no fragrance, no silk, no welcome. Only dread. The other house was quiet too, but it was not the quiet of peace. It was the silence that comes before a storm, thick and heavy, pressing against the walls. The man lay alone on his bed, restless and agitated. His breaths came short and ragged, his eyes darting from corner to corner as though he felt something near him that he could not name. Fear filled his chest, not the fear of death itself, for he had always dismissed talk of it, but the fear of something drawing close, something he could not control. He tried to push the thought away. He told himself it was nothing, just the weakness of sickness, just a trembling of age. But deep within, his soul knew. It trembled, sensing what the body refused to acknowledge. The room grew darker, though no lamp had been dimmed. The air grew heavy, pressing down on him. The silence deepened until even his own gasps sounded distant. Then the first presence entered. He could not see them with his eyes, but his soul felt them immediately, the angels of punishment. Their presence filled the room with dread. Their forms were vast and unyielding, their garments harsh and black, their eyes burning with severity. In their hands they carried coarse cloths, rough and foul-smelling, reeking of smoke and decay. They did not speak words of comfort. They brought no fragrance, no peace. They brought only the weight of judgment. The man's soul recoiled, his chest heaved as though he could force it to stay. His fingers clutched the sheets, his legs kicked weakly against the bed. He tried to shout, to call for someone, but no voice left his throat. His heart screamed, but his lips could not form the words. And then the air froze. The angels of punishment lowered their heads, for their commander had entered. Azrael was there. This was not the form the believer had seen. Azrael came now in terrifying majesty. His presence filled the space with darkness that the soul could not endure. His wings spread vast and terrible, his face severe. The man felt as though the walls had collapsed inward, as though the world itself had shrunk into a pit from which there was no escape. His body trembled, his eyes widened, and in that instant he knew. This was the moment he had always avoided thinking about, the moment he had mocked others for preparing for. Azrael's voice thundered through the room, heavy and unyielding. "O wicked soul, come out to the anger of your Lord and his wrath." The words struck him like chains. His soul clung desperately to his body, clawing inward, refusing to leave. His chest convulsed, his limbs stiffened. The angels of punishment moved closer, their grip iron, their touch burning. Azrael commanded again, his voice shaking the unseen. "Come out." The soul screamed, though no sound reached human ears. It resisted, clinging tighter, like thorns tangled in cloth. But resistance could not change decree. The angels reached in, and with force they tore it free. Not gently, not like water flowing from a jug, but violently, like hooks ripping through flesh, like wool being dragged through thorns. The man's body twisted, his mouth gaped in a silent cry. His eyes froze in horror. The soul was seized, thrashing, and bound in the coarse cloth the angels carried. The stench of smoke and decay clung to it, rising upward like a warning. The man's body collapsed, lifeless. His face was contorted in fear, his hands stiffened in a final grasp. Those who found him later would shake their heads and say he had died suddenly, perhaps of the heart. They would not know what he had seen, what he had faced in that silent room. The angels carried the soul upward, but unlike the believer's journey, no fragrance accompanied it. Instead, a foul stench spread, and the heavens recoiled. At the first gate, the angels stationed there turned away in disgust. "What is this foul soul?" they demanded. The angels of punishment answered, "This is the soul of one who denied, who turned away, who mocked the truth and lived in arrogance." The gate did not open. There was no welcome, only rejection. The soul writhed, terror flooding it. Memories surged back, sharper than any blade. He saw the prayers he had mocked, the poor he had ignored, the arrogance with which he had dismissed reminders. He remembered the nights when truth had knocked at his door and he had turned away, saying, "Not now, another time." But later never came. He was carried higher, but each heaven shut its gates against him. No angel smiled, no voice welcomed. At every gate the question repeated, "Whose soul is this?" And the answer came, condemning, the one who denied, the one who turned away, the one who wasted his days. The stench grew stronger, the rejection became harsher, until at last the voice of command thundered, "Write his record in Sijin, in the lowest earth, cast him down." The angels hurled him downward, chains clinging to him. He fell not into sleep, but into torment. His soul struck the earth, bound in the coarse cloth, stinking, broken. He was shown his place, not a garden of peace, but a pit of fire, a dwelling of dread, waiting until the day he would be raised again. He begged for another chance, for one more moment, for even a single breath to repent. But the gates were closed. The chance was gone. Regret consumed him, burning sharper than flame. He thought of his family, who would mourn him as if he were at peace. They would wash his body, lower him gently into the earth, whisper prayers over him, not knowing that his soul was chained, not resting, not free. In Barzakh, his resting place was not rest, but waiting in terror. Every sound was a reminder of what he had rejected. Every silence was a weight pressing down. He remembered the times he had laughed at death, telling himself it was far away. Now it was nearer than his breath, and his breath was gone. Azrael turned from him. There was no cruelty in his face, no gloating, no pride, only calm obedience. The decree had been carried out. To one soul he had been a friend, a guide, a doorway to mercy. To this one he had been a storm, a chain, a command of wrath. Azrael stood between the two houses, wings unfurled across realms no eye could measure. In one, the fragrance of paradise still lingered. In the other, the stench of smoke clung heavy to the unseen. He looked neither weary nor proud. Angels do not grow weary. Angels do not take pride. He was steady, as he had been since the command first reached him in the dawn of creation. Take the souls when their appointed time comes. He did not choose whom to welcome gently and whom to seize with force. He did not weigh deeds nor write destinies. That was not his role. He carried no scales, only obedience. Yet in his presence the truth of a soul was revealed. To one he appeared as a gentle friend, to another as a terror too great to endure. The difference was not in him. The difference was in them. He remembered the first soul he had taken long ago, when the world was young. The earth had trembled at the departure. The heavens had opened in awe. And since that day he had walked the thin veil between life and death, unseen yet nearer than breath, carrying out the decree without hesitation. He had stood at the bedside of kings, their crowns slipping from their brows as easily as the last breath from their lungs. He had entered the huts of the poor, where children clung to mothers and mothers to their maker, and he had seen their souls depart wrapped in light brighter than any jewel. He had taken the righteous from gardens and the wicked from palaces. To him there was no distinction. To his duty, all were equal. And yet he had witnessed the contrast that eternity writes. The believer, frail yet steadfast, had risen with a smile, carried in fragrance, greeted with welcome at every gate. The denier, strong in body but hollow in spirit, had been torn away, bound in coarse cloth, rejected until he was cast down. 2 men, 2 lives, 2 endings, and Azrael, unshaken, had been present at both. He looked upon the earth, upon its cities and fields, its rivers and deserts. Millions breathed beneath him, each one unaware of how close he was. Some spoke of him in fear, some dismissed him as a tale, some never thought of him at all. Yet he was with them always, closer than their shadows, waiting only for the word from above. If Azrael could feel sorrow as men feel it, it would not be for his task. His obedience was perfect. His will dissolved into the will of the Almighty. If he could feel sorrow, it would be for the heedlessness of men, for the way they lived as though the meeting would never come. He had seen too many eyes widen in terror at his arrival, too many souls torn away screaming, clinging to a world that could not hold them. And if he could feel joy, it would not be pride. It would be in witnessing the relief of a soul carried in mercy, the smile of one who had feared all his life only to discover that his Lord's forgiveness was greater than his shame. He had seen too many lips curve into peace at the final moment, too many eyes close with trust, knowing they were not being taken but welcomed. He did not question the decree. He did not ask why one was guided and another was left astray. That belonged to the wisdom of the one who knows the hidden paths of every heart. He only knew that the command was perfect, that the writing was true, that the scales would not tilt by a grain. He thought of those who still walked upon the earth, busy with their days, chasing wealth, laughter, power, or love. He thought of how little they remembered that every breath was numbered, that every heartbeat was counted. He did not envy them, nor despise them. He only waited, patient as the shadow that lengthens at dusk, for the moment each name would be called. The believer now rested in Barzakh, his soul wrapped in peace, his dwelling prepared, his prayers for his family carried as light. The non-believer lay in Barzakh too, but his rest was no rest. His dwelling was shadow and fire, his regret sharp and endless. Both awaited the day when the trumpet would sound, when the dead would rise, when the final judgment would reveal in full what had only been glimpsed. Azrael's wings spread across the horizon of the unseen. He was vast, unshaken, eternal in duty. His voice, if men could hear it, would have been like the sound of oceans colliding with mountains, yet tender as rain upon thirsty earth. If men could hear it, this is what they would hear. O children of Adam, do not be deceived by the days that pass you by. Do not think the world will hold you forever. Every breath you take is a step closer to me. Every heartbeat is a knock upon the door of eternity. I am not your enemy, nor your friend. I am the servant who carries out the word of your Lord. I will meet you as you have lived. If you prepared, you will find me gentle. If you turned away, you will find me dreadful. But you will find me. None escaped the meeting. He turned from the two houses. In one the family still wept, their tears softened by unseen mercy. In the other, mourners gathered, shaking their heads, speaking of sudden death, never knowing the terror their loved one had faced. Azrael turned, and the world turned with him. Life unfolding, deaths approaching, names written and erased in the register he carried. The believer and the non-believer now waited, their fates sealed, their places shown. And the angel of death, steady and vast, moved on, carrying out the decree as he always had, as he always would, until the trumpet blew and the task was complete. And for those still breathing, the message was clear: prepare, for the meeting will come, and when it comes you will know him. One day, every one of us will meet Azrael. The question is not if, the question is how. Will he come to you as a gentle guide, carrying you in peace, or as a terror, tearing you from the world you clung to? The choice is written by the life you live now. If this story moved you, share it so others may reflect. And if you want to hear more stories like this, lessons, reminders, and truths that prepare us for eternity, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and join me on this journey. Because tomorrow is not promised, and what we prepare for today will shape what we face in the end.